Shalom, shalom. Y'all let me know if y'all can hear me. Can y'all hear me? Shalom. Should I send this out to the- Okay, kind, man. Hey, first and foremost, I want to say call hello, Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, Bashim Rakakudash. Send double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutations to you. I came out there pushing the word of Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, and sincerity and truth. This is Brother Ariella. This is just a quick Algo update. I'm actually going to play most of this video or a good part of this video kind of update. As everybody knows, we got a lot of action going on across the world, particularly in the Middle East between Persia and the state of Israel. There's some things that are surrounding that are prophetic. We always kind of cover those on these Algo updates when we feel like it's newsworthy and significant for the war of Armageddon that's set to befall the earth, you know. Hold on just one second, Akim. I'm gonna send this out real quick and then we'll get started. Now, for those of you that have been paying attention to the algos, y'all saw me kind of call out Persia whenever the state of Israel had started to kill a lot of the top brass for Hezbollah and start to set up multiple attacks within the borders of Lebanon. I'm like, hey, yo, Iran, bro, what's up? Where you at? You just gonna let your homies get dusted off like that? You ain't gonna step in? So after another round of attacks, uh, finally Iran responded today with a limited, you know, airstrike. You know, they said there's gonna be more, but we're gonna see. But I want to play this a clip of this video. If you don't have the anonymous official page, you should subscribe to it. They're always putting up pretty good info. But before that, let me read this real quick. I want to read Isaiah, the 13th chapter, in the first verse, and it says, "The burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see, lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand, that they may go into the gates of the nobles. I have commanded my sanctified ones, I have also called my mighty ones for mine anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the host of the battle." So the Most High is putting on the minds of the kings of the earth to continue to move forward from just one-on-one skirmishes to regional conflicts, and finally to engulf the world in full-blown Armageddon. You know, right now we have the state of Israel that is nuclear capable, engaged with smaller militaries. But once these big dogs start jumping in there, people who have more armaments, then we know that's going to force the hands of other nations to jump in, particularly Russia and the United States. We're going to see, okay? Verse 5 says, "They come from a far country and from the end of heaven, even the Lord, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land." Okay, so we saw the missiles, the videos of the missiles being shot, the devastation that we could see, and that's nothing compared to when these guys fully get going, and that's what we all know is going to bring on the salvation of our people when this whole freaking place gets caught up and we get up out of here, man, via chariots. Okay, but we still got different prophecies to go down. As you can see, economically, things are still getting ready to go down. They got the port strikes that's happening. That's, you know, it has the potential to cause some disruption. We'll see how bad that can get. But if we do have full scale wars and they start to block off these different passages for ships, that is really what's going to cause famines and problems in the earth, because not only are you going to have shortages of goods going out and about the earth, you're going to also have skyrocketing gas prices, and it's going to limit the capabilities of a lot of these businesses. So you just won't even have access to anything. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I was looking at this stuff. I wanted to pull up this guy's Twitter. It was trying to make me sign up, and I wasn't trying to do that on this account. But I do have it pulled up on my phone. I'm gonna read something that he wrote. I'm gonna read something that he wrote on his Twitter. This is Jake Morphonius. He used to be on YouTube with what was the name of his YouTube channel? For the brothers that remember the name of his YouTube channel, please put it in the chat. It's like Black something. But he will always talk about the Middle East. I mean, very, very detailed, very good information. I don't know if he got banned. I just haven't seen his videos lately. He's kind of like a Scott Ritter, which we're gonna play some Scott Ritter, but he was kind of on there before Scott became more to the forefront. But this is what Jake wrote. He said, I'm all set with my popcorn to watch Iran toss a few underhanded softballs toward Israel after having alerted the United States to make sure their military assets are in place to safely swap them away. Because the last thing anyone in Iran seems to want is to actually hit a target inside Israel. Remember how everybody was talking about the imminent pager attack in Lebanon? Remember how everybody was talking about the imminent strike on Nasrallah? Or the preparations that were being made for the assassination of Hayani? No, that's because Israel actually is fighting for real while Iran is just making a show of it. See, when Iran told the United States to put everybody in a bunker and basically told everybody that they were going to do a strike today, it's kind of like, bro, you playing games, man. We looking for Carmania to come out. We're looking for Iran to really step up. They showed a little teeth today, and the reason why a lot of those missiles did hit is because the United States didn't intercept a lot of them for whatever reason. And Scott Ritter's going to talk about the possible reasons why here in a second. I'm going to play a clip. It says Iran might as well just save their weapons and not waste them. They've played this hand too many times in the past where they want to show force but try to save face without actually doing any damage that would provoke a strong American or Israeli response. It's like being bitten by an old person who took their dentures out first. Why bother? If Iran is not going to launch a surprise attack and is just going to give Israel and the United States some batting practice, they have to just stand down, because doing this is more humiliating and harmful to the nation's reputation than if it did nothing at all. Either fight like you mean it or shut up and stay on your knees. So, man, I read that post. Brother Require Quam sent it to me. And that is my sentiments. And yes, Blackstone Intelligence, the water. Blackstone Intelligence. But yeah, anyway, man, that's my sentiments exactly about the state of Iran. I'm like, come on, man, stop playing, get up in the game, you know. But we know the history of Iran. We know the history of Persia. They've always had a mighty military and been very, very difficult to defeat. So we're gonna see if we're gonna get some Carmanians raging in wrath. You know what I'm saying? I was joking with the brothers today. I said, man, if we don't see Iran step up, man, I'm gonna boycott the scripture right here, man. I'm tired of talking about Iran and they playing games. You know, have some balls already. You know, Second Ezra chapter 15. Verse 27, now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them. For the Most High shall not deliver you, because ye have sinned against him. Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which bear them may fear and tremble. Now, so we're starting to see more pressure be put on Jordan. We're starting to see more pressure be put on Syria to step in, also on Turkey. Now, with that being said, you have the Houthi rebels out there in Yemen. They doing what they can, man. Little tink tink with the little rocket launchers and they little drones. They doing what they can. But soon you're going to start to see if Iran and one of these bigger military jump in, it's going to force the hand of all these Arab nations to jump in and choose whichever side they're going to be on. Now, you got the Sunnis versus Shiites. I don't know how this is going to work out as far as who's going to fight what. We know what it says in Ezekiel the 38th chapter. We're going to get that. But, when it comes to these Arabs, like the prophecy said, if somebody can grab it, the prophecy on Ishmael, how they're gonna be wild against, they're gonna be a wild man, you know, they'll be fighting against everybody. Okay. So then it says, where the dragons of the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as wind upon the earth, and all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmenians, we know that it's Persia or Iran, raging in wrath, shall go forth as wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join the battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. Okay, so they're gonna join in this fight, you know, and so then that's gonna cause what? A bigger war. It's gonna cause a bigger tumult. I want to play some of this because this video speaks on this better than I can. All right. Let's see. And then, of course, I'm gonna be checking the comment board. So if y'all got scriptures, just put them.
As we watch this view again over Tel Aviv, and you see what appear to be impacts now on the ground. Well, the role of the United States is to unconditionally support whatever the Israeli government wants to do, and more specifically, Prime Minister Netanyahu. So I think that's our role, like it or not. That's where we stand. I think it's important to pause for a second and understand just really where we are now. You talked about escalation. Well, that's very definitely the case. The Israelis have now dramatically escalated their attacks on southern Lebanon. It looks as though these bombing runs are a preparation for a ground assault. And
All right, so
that's extremely important, because I think the real strategic inflection point will come with the Israeli invasion of southern Lebanon.
Now, so we talked about that, how they did these strikes. They took out all this top brass. They took out all these leaders to basically disrupt and discombobulate Lebanon and Hezbollah in general, so they can do a ground invasion. All right. So if they do this ground invasion, we might be on to something.
Now, will that be a full-scale invasion or a series of short raids on the ground over the border? I have no idea. But I think the ground force is being ready to go in. Now, keep in mind that the reserve ground forces, in other words, those people that are only mobilized in the event of an emergency or war, the reservists are controlling Gaza, the reservists are controlling the West Bank, so that the so-called regulars, the core of the Israeli force, are up north. These are the best brigades, the best organizations. And I think they're performing reconnaissance on the ground, battalion commanders, brigade commanders, looking at the approaches, where they'll go in and what they'll do. This is very important because, quite frankly, despite the enormous efforts undertaken from the air and with missiles against southern Lebanon, they really haven't succeeded in doing a great deal of damage to Hezbollah. Hezbollah is actually prepared for these assaults. And I think once the Israelis go in on the ground, that will probably be the trigger for Iran to take a greater hand. Thus far, Iran has stayed out of it, kept out of it. Iranians know that the Hezbollah fighters are extremely well armed and prepared. But once the Israelis commit on the ground, I think that will be judged as a turning point. Now, what does that mean? Will Iran jump in with both feet 100%? I don't know. The other thing is that from the vantage point of the United States, I think the U.S. armed forces are waiting for the ground assault before they actually engage in support of the Israelis. So that's why I think the idea of Israeli ground forces in southern Lebanon is very important. Now, we had some interesting developments over the last 24 hours beyond just bombings. We now have Israeli aircraft, an F-15, at least one, that has landed in Cyprus because of damage inflicted on Israeli airfields. That's very important because both Hezbollah and Turkey have warned that if the Israelis utilize Cyprus, that they will regard that as part of the war zone. The Turks are, of course, extremely sensitive to Cyprus, as you know from the history down there. They will not be pleased at all that the Israelis.
Now, around Cyprus and those waters, there's a lot of oil. There's a lot of resources that Turkey has always said that they lay claim to. Now, I believe it's Great Britain, along with supporting the state of Israel, along with supporting the Greeks, have been basically treating Turkey like a redheaded stepchild, so to speak. And so this has always put Turkey in a position to where they fuck with the West, but not really. And as we've seen it recently, that's why you see Turkey openly talking about, all right, man, we want to be a part of the BRICS nations and everything like that. Okay. And so we know that they'll be willing to jump in the fray too. You know, when you read Jeremiah 51 and 27, it says, set you up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kingdoms of Arawat, Mini, and Ashkenaz. You know, Arawat, that's Turkey, and that's all in that region. You know, that's all in that region here. You know, them jumping in there and wanting to go to battle and fight. All right. Appoint a captain against her, cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars, prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, captain thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. Okay, so look, we gonna see these nations. If there's ground, there's a ground incursion potentially can jump up in there. You know how fast or quickly that it escalates. You know that's up to Yahweh Shem Shah. Yeah, the water for putting that scripture. We're gonna see this uh, more and more and more. GMS under down under Australia put Genesis 16 and 12, and he will be a wild man, talking about Ishmael, the Arabs. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. You know what I'm saying? And the brother put the AMP version. It says, he, Ishmael, will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against every man continually fighting, and every man's hand against him, and he will dwell in defiance of all his brothers. All right. So we're going to see this escalate more and more and more as these nations take sides and choose how they're going to fight, man.
Israelis are operating out of it. They were already very unhappy with the British use of Cyprus to support strikes in various places, but more important, the air defense operations that the Israelis mounted when they were.
It was the British. I didn't realize he said that.
Under threat of attack by Iran. So I think we're reaching a strategic inflection point where this war really will go regional. It'll move beyond just Hezbollah in Israel or Houthis in Israel, but this could also include Iran and potentially others. At the same time, we should not lose sight of what's going on in Jordan, Syria, Iraq, and Egypt. I think that General Sisi's position in Egypt is very, very fragile. The Egyptian population is ready to essentially remove him. I think we could wake up and discover that the Egyptian army has taken him out of his office.
Boom. So the Egyptians have a lot of Arabs there, and basically they have a government that's passive. It's been very, very passive. But we know the Most High is going to stir up these nations. We read these scriptures all the time, and I love to watch this stuff jump off the page. I love to watch the Most High work His spirit on the planet Earth, man. It's very fascinating, and it should increase your faith, and it should increase your tenacity towards making sure that you're doing right by Yahweh Shem Shah. So when we read Joel 3 and 9, proclaim ye among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, let the weak say I am strong. And that's why when you start to see these used to be merchant Arab nations going to be drawn into this fight. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Okay? So this is what he wants. The multitudes in the valley of the decision. All these things are being prepared and placed. But we'll let them cook.
Now, what does this mean? This means that despite our efforts to bribe the Egyptian government into silence and essentially compliance with whatever Israel wants to do, that the situation in Egypt could change dramatically. You have a similar situation in Jordan. King Abdullah's government resigned en masse in front of him. I think King Abdullah is on very shaky ground. There are an estimated 11.2 million Palestinians living in Jordan. They know what has been going on in Gaza. They know what has been happening in the West Bank. If he is removed, and I think there's a real possibility that that could happen, I think the floodgates will open and the Palestinians in Jordan will join their brethren on the West Bank. How will this unfold? I don't know, but I think it's very possible. Remember that we also have somewhere between 5 and 9,000 American soldiers in Iraq, Syria, and Jordan. I personally, and I think many of us in the military, are very concerned about those soldiers. They are not in a good position from the standpoint of rescuing them in the event that they come under very direct, sustained attack. We have sustained some losses. We don't know how many are killed or wounded, but there were attacks on our forces in northeast Syria, where we continue to control this very small oil installation in Syria. The Syrians are not really the ones involved in this, although I'm sure the Syrians would be happy to see us go. But you're talking about supportive Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria that would like to drive us out. But the danger is that if you have a large number of people wounded, how do you get them out? How do you evacuate them? How do you prevent them from being, pulverized into the dust by rocket attacks? I mean, they have phalanx guns that are automated on their perimeters, so they can do some damage. But those are not that difficult to take out of action if you're determined to do so. So these are all serious issues that I don't think most Americans are aware of, but the loss of American life in those areas could have a big impact. Americans don't know, frankly, how many people we have in the Middle East, how many soldiers are actually on the ground. They haven't paid much attention. In fact, I would argue that that's one of the big problems in U.S. foreign and defense policy, that Americans really don't pay much attention to what happens beyond their borders. So now we're waiting for the next shoe to drop. And that means if the Israelis go in on the ground, we can expect a much larger and more profoundly destructive war than what we've seen to this.
All right, so now he's about to prognosticate about what could potentially happen if there's a ground invasion. This is the part that I really wanted to kind of lean in on, because these things have to build up. Now, the timing of everything, like I said, the Lord knows. We still got the MOTB that's got to be pushed. Right now, everything's in place for them to push out the MOTB. The digital systems are ready. They just need the excuses to put them out. And I try to remind people how quickly they can do these things, because they talk about them years and years and years in advance. Okay? You remember when we had the lockdowns, how quickly we moved to a QR code system? It was like it was overnight that all the restaurants and corporations and websites and everything like that had what they needed to continue to have commerce with these QR codes and stuff like that, man. These systems are already ready to be implemented. They just need a reason for it. Okay.
Point. And we haven't seen the various hypersonic missiles and other arsenals of destruction that could be delivered against Israel either. But all of this is calculated, as you know, by Mr. Netanyahu to bring the United States into the war on his side in support of him. That's really what this is all about.
Yeah, that was my follow-up question. What do you think could trigger the United States to enter the war? Because it appears the U.S. is happy to supply the weapons. I've seen some reports that the U.S. might have been assisting with drones and other intelligence for striking Lebanon, but it looks as if the United States would like to stay more indirectly involved. But as you point out, the Israelis' main plan, much like the Ukrainians, appear to be to pull the Americans in. So what do you think would be the possible triggers to pull the United States into a wider Middle Eastern war?
Well, I think the big trigger is really invading southern Lebanon on the ground. That is likely to attract Iranian attention, which means the Iranians could then conceivably intervene on the side of Hezbollah. That in turn would trigger our introduction into the fight. We would probably jump at the opportunity to unleash everything we've got in those carrier battle groups, as well as bombers from the continental United States, as well as those that are down in Diego Garcia and places in Europe, and hurl them at Iran. Again, this is a very dangerous situation, because then you bring in Russia. Russia is not likely to sit there quietly and watch us pulverize Iran. Remember, there are several thousand Russian soldiers, technicians, civilians on the ground in Iran, helping the Iranians to build up their air and missile defense capability.
And they're also in Syria. So just in review, State of Israel does a ground invasion in southern Lebanon. Iran comes to aid. We've seen Iran do they showed a little bit of teeth today. They growled a little bit, which is what we wanted. Okay, as far as prophecy goes. Well, then if the U.S. comes in and starts to smack Iran around, that could potentially bring in what? Russia. We all know the scripture that I'm going to go to with that one. When you look at Ezekiel 38:1, we see all these players coming in, and Ritter, he's naming these nations. He's naming them. Ezekiel 38:1. And the words of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against God, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Mictesh and Tubal, and prophesied against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord power, behold, I am against thee, O God, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thine army. Okay, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. So basically, your army, your tanks, your drones, all right, your military men with the M16s, your bunker busters, all right, your ATVs, your jets, all that. Now, check this. It says Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer and all of his bands, the house of Togomar of the north quarters and all of his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. So we're hearing right now a situation where Russia could come in and be a guard unto these nations that get drawn into this thing. Okay, get drawn into this battle right here that's happening right now, where you have the state of Israel battling with Lebanon and the Palestinians. All right, and you have all these nations that can get sucked into this conflict, along with, of course, Babylon the Great, which is America. Okay, Iran with Turkey, Iraq. All right, along with Russia and everybody that's in there, in the NATO nations. So this thing is lined up, bruh. It's lined up. Prophecy is speaking. All right.
Now, if this occurs, then I would also expect the Israelis to go after the nuclear development facilities inside Iran, or what are alleged to be nuclear development facilities. And again, you have a similar situation with the U.S. military. I'm sure that all the target lists, all the data for targets, the target arrays have been traded back and forth between us and the Israelis. So it's really a matter of flipping a switch, and you find yourself in a regional war.
Yeah, it seems to be a conflict which you can't really control anymore, as we discussed earlier. The time to have resolved this would have been much sooner, but I feel it's gone out of control for all the main parties. I want to switch gears a little bit to the United States, because you currently have a visitor over there now, President Zelensky, who has gone to the United States to present.
Boom, and then they start to talk about the Ukrainian-Russian situation, and now they're talking about maybe pushing a plan to escalate tensions over there. Which, I saw one of the brothers mention about NATO and the tensions that are happening with the UN. I mean, and everything like that. I can't find it. It was somewhere, brother made that statement, but it's neither here nor there. The point is, and I was going to get that scripture, but brother posted it, so I'll just read it from him. Dark matter, Yahweh Ma put Jeremiah 50 and 45. Therefore, hear ye the counsel of the Lord that he have taken against Babylon and his purposes, that he have purpose against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. And we see the state of Israel, which is the least of the flock, kind of forcing this thing down the pipeline, which is right along with prophecy, man. Everything is popping, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Now, they was talking about there's going to be more strikes later on. I guess tonight or this morning, really over there. It should be morning time over there. But we got this the VP debate finna go down. We're gonna see, man. Things have been popping off in 2024, and the only thing we can say is we will see. We got some really juicy things going, but we know we're getting close to something really breaking out, man. We're getting close to something really breaking out. I want to read one more scripture and then I'll close out. One of my favorite scriptures. Romans chapter 13, verse 11, it says, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the work of darkness and let us put on the armor of light. All right, knowing these things are getting ready to pop off, man. Get your mind right. Stay locked in with the brotherhood. Stay locked in with the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Okay. With that, man, if anything else goes on, we'll jump on here and talk about it. But with that all being said, man, call Allah Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutation to Yaki. I'm pushing the word of Yahweh Shem Yahushua and sincerity and truth. Shalom.